Welcome, first-year accounting students, to this explainer. You've officially made it to the big leagues of financial reporting. Today, we're going to look at what I like to call the story of an asset's life. Yep, we're talking about depreciation. Now, I know that word can sound, well, a little dry to the uninitiated, but depreciation is actually the financial heartbeat of any physical business. It's how we map out the wear, the tear, and the ultimate expiration of literally everything a company owns. So today, we're diving into the ultimate showdown in asset management, the written down value method versus the straight line method. Let's get right into it. Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll meet the WDV method. Then, we'll look at the merits of WDV, followed by its demerits. After that, we've got the main event, WDV versus straight line, and finally, we'll cover how to actually choose the right method in the real world.
Section 1. Let's officially meet the WDV method.
Look, as new accounting students, the vocabulary in this field can kind of feel like a foreign language, but we're going to break it down really simply. Written down value, which we'll call WDV, calculates depreciation at a fixed rate. Sounds standard, right? But here's the massive twist. You apply that fixed rate to the depreciated value of the asset, not its original cost. So, if you buy a machine for $10,000, you don't keep taking your percentage off that $10,000. You take it off whatever value is left over after the previous years of depreciation. You're basically taking a slice of a continuously shrinking pie.
Now, this method actually goes by a few different aliases in the financial world. You might see it on your upcoming exams referred to as the diminishing balance method, or maybe the reducing installment method. Don't panic, they all mean the exact same thing. Because that percentage we just talked about is taken from a shrinking base, the actual dollar amount of depreciation drops every single year. In year 1, you're taking a big chunk out of the asset's value. But by year 5, that chunk you're taking is significantly smaller.
Moving right along to Section 2, the merits of WDV.
Seasoned accountants actually love this method for some very specific situations because of what we call the uniform combined charge. I want you to picture a playground seesaw in your head. On one side of the seesaw, you've got your depreciation charges, which, as we just established, are going down over time. On the other side of the seesaw, you have repair costs. Think about a fleet of delivery trucks, right? As they get older, they break down way more often. So those repair costs naturally go up. Well, by using WDV, the falling depreciation expense perfectly balances out the rising repair bills. The result is a beautifully even, stable total charge to your profit and loss account year after year. It's absolute magic for creating financial stability on paper.
Another crucial merit is simplicity. Now, hold on, don't roll your eyes just yet. While the initial setup definitely has a bit of a learning curve, the basic day-to-day application of WDV is actually quite simple. Once you know your fixed percentage, simply applying it to the remaining balance on your ledger every year is incredibly straightforward to understand and follow.
But hey, no accounting method is perfect. Section 3. The demerits of WDV.
You definitely don't want to get caught off guard by WDV's blind spots. Take the concept of reaching zero. Under the WDV method, an asset's book value will absolutely never reach exactly zero. It's mathematically impossible. Think about it. If you keep taking a percentage of a remaining fraction, a tiny, microscopic sliver always remains. Even when that asset is completely worn out, totally put out of use, and literally rusting away in a junkyard somewhere, it will still stubbornly hold a certain book value on your balance sheet. It's basically an accounting ghost.
Here's a secondary flaw to jot down. It totally ignores interest. Let's say a company drops $50,000 in cold hard cash on a shiny new piece of machinery. Well, that's $50,000 they're no longer keeping in a bank, and it's money they aren't investing in other profit-generating ventures. The WDV method completely fails to take into account the loss of interest on the money invested in purchasing that asset. It turns a total blind eye to the opportunity cost of the cash.
And remember just a second ago when I said the application of this method was simple? Well, here is the irony. While applying the rate year to year is easy, determining what that initial appropriate depreciation rate should be in the first place is notoriously difficult. Calculating that exact starting rate requires a pretty complicated mathematical formula. So, you have to do some heavy mathematical lifting on the front end before you get to enjoy that simplicity on the back end.
All right, Section 4. The heavyweight bout. WDV versus straight line.
Get your notes ready because this is your ultimate exam cheat sheet. We're contrasting how each method behaves across 5 critical battlegrounds. First, look at the basis of calculation. WDV is based on the continually written down value, whereas straight line is based strictly on the original cost. Second, the installment. WDV reduces every year, but straight line, the installment is exactly the same every single year. Third, final value. As we just saw, WDV creates that accounting ghost and never hits zero, but straight line neatly reduces down to zero at the expiry of its working life. Fourth, that combined cost of depreciation plus repairs. WDV gives us that seesaw effect, keeping costs equal throughout. Straight line, however, has low combined costs early on, but really high costs later when the old machinery starts requiring heavy repairs. And finally, rate calculation. WDV is mathematically difficult to set up, while straight line is incredibly easy. Make absolutely sure you understand the flow of these differences.
Section 5. Choosing the right method.
Let's shift from theory into practice. This is where we ask the really crucial question. When should you actually recommend which method? The practical rule of thumb is to match the accounting method to the physical, real-world reality of the asset in question. Take the straight-line method. It's best suited for assets that depreciate primarily due to the simple expiration of time. Think about intangible assets like leaseholds or patents. A 10-year patent loses exactly a tenth of its legal lifespan every single year, regardless of how much you use it. Straight line makes perfect sense there. But for written down value, it's most suitable for heavy, physical assets like manufacturing plant equipment and machinery, because those assets will inevitably require heavy, expensive repairs in the later years of their working life. You need the WDV method to balance out those rising costs and keep your profit and loss statement stable.
To wrap up our explainer today, I really want to challenge you to look beyond the ledgers. Think about this. Does an asset ever truly lose all its value? Or is a zero balance just a convenient accounting fiction? WDV leaves a lingering value forever, while straight line aggressively wipes it to absolute zero. But how do these formulas shape how a company views its own worth? You see, accounting isn't just about math. It's about telling the most accurate story of a business. Keep that in mind as you head into your next class. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep up the great focus, and I'll see you on the next one.